Okay, well, welcome everybody. This is Project Lemons to Lemonade, where we bring thought leaders who have grown their companies and they share concepts via interviews and virtual workshops. Today we're welcoming XA Staffing. Thank you for joining us. We've got Chris, Jill, Greg to teach us and share their security and crowd management trade secrets to help business owners. And we went through the dress rehearsal about an hour ago and it was awesome. I'm so excited about the content. What I find fascinating about Chris and his team is that they talk about customer service on the outside, not just the inside of your company. And they're going to teach us a little bit about that. And especially in a time when a lot of people are worried and confused, it's like such an amazing time and concept. And they're going to teach us tips on how to do that properly and keep everybody engaged and all these amazing opportunities that we are missing out on if we're not doing these strategies. So logistics, the exits are here, here, and here. And what we can do is, if you want to keep your camera on, we'll get a better feel for what's happening in the room, because they're talking from the stage, but the audience is all silent, so it's a little bit tricky. If you have questions, we've got Larissa from the Spartan Spark team who's going to document them and write your name down if you want to ask like a longer question at the Q&A at the end. And I think that's pretty much it for logistics. And Jill, we have a special guest on Jill's, who might appear on Jill's video. She has her 3-month-old with her. So we're excited if our special guest joins us. The rest of the team.
Apologize if you hear any background cooing or grunting. I swear it's not me.
My 3-year-old may join us and it won't be as cute.
Yeah, so we've all got 2s and 3s and whatever year-olds, 24-year-olds, they show up at any time. And we know that that's how it is these days. So welcome everybody, and I'll get Chris to get us started.
Thanks, Daphne. Welcome to everybody. It's nice to see some familiar faces here. Glad to have everybody with us. This is the first time we've done this. We're super excited. We thought it could be cool to do one of these online workshop things with Daphne and talk about kind of where we come from and our methods as far as delivering customer service from a security provider standpoint. And we're not going to talk a ton about security today, and we're not going to talk a ton about COVID specifically today. We're really going to be focusing on customer service and our training and kind of the things that we put in place and advise in terms of environmental and site design, and how those kind of 3 categories contribute to our overall public safety and security and customer service things all as a group. So without getting too deep into it, I'm going to tell everyone just a little bit about us as a business, if I can figure out how to do my keynote. So we are a Calgary-based business. I started the company in 2004, so 16 years ago now. We started as a small live entertainment concert stagehand company where we provided staff to help set up sound and lights. Shortly thereafter, we expanded into crowd management and security. And so we grew up in the event space. And as our team grew, and the shows that we worked grew, we became kind of the go-to event security, crowd management, kind of mass gathering security company in the province of Alberta. Last year, we had over 800 active scheduled staff, probably have a lot more than that on the roster, but we had 800 working at once at one point last year. So record year for us in terms of need, not so much a record year this year, obviously, but in normal circumstances, we're about 800 strong in the province of Alberta. Over the years, we've trained probably over 4,000. I don't know the number, but it's more than 4,000 crowd management professionals, security guards over the course of our existence. We're a Red Cross training partner, so we administer emergency and standard first aid, CPR, and AED courses. And we're an Alberta basic security training approved provider with the government of Alberta. So that means we administer the provincial exam and training materials for those that are looking to get their security license to be a security worker in the province. So training is a big part of what we do. We're going to talk to Jill a little bit more about our training piece and how we do training. I thought I'd introduce the panel. We'll start with my partner, Greg. Greg is the managing partner of our business and our team coach. He's really good at coaching. He loves doing it. I love being coached, and so do our staff. I love talking about what I'm not good at. He's super, super passionate about customer service. So Greg is really the component of our leadership team that drives that how we behave piece in our staff. He's got an extensive background in food and beverage management, risk management, and security. He's an MBA from the Haskayne School of Business. And he's overall a really smart and engaged mentor. So we're happy to have Greg on the team. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Greg, to talk about the rest of us. You're muted. Unmute.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that for all the half-truths there. Super appreciated. I'm going to talk about customer service stuff in a few minutes, but before that, I'm going to introduce Jill Volcker and perhaps little baby Eva at some point also. Jill's been with the company for 9 years now. She started off as a security guard, was a supervisor within a year, and just kept getting more and more education and smarter. So she's kind of our training mastermind. She has a BA in criminal justice, a postgraduate diploma in crowd safety and risk analysis from England. She's a certificate in occupational health and safety, also leads all of our training, including Red Cross stuff. And the newest thing is she's certified instructor in nonviolent crisis intervention, which is a great course for anybody who deals with the public who might not be having a great day. And I'll pass you off to Jill.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. I'm just going to throw it back to a little introduction of Chris, who's the first person you heard speak today. He is the founder at XA, and hopefully you guys can hear me over the little baby noises here. He's the founder and starter of XA about 15 years ago in his basement. He started it up as an event staffing company for stage crew specifically. And since then, he's really branched out and done a ton of different things in the live event industry, including a concert production manager, festival operations director with some big festivals here in Canada. He is an advisor on the Event Safety Alliance Canada, and he's also a member of ASIS International, which is sort of a global security management organization. So that's his newest endeavor.
And I have to jump in here too, because I met Chris at the Chamber, and super great businessman. Thank you for all your advice, this past year, and just lots of awesome ideas. I've been learning a lot from the way Chris runs his business. So thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you, but I'm just repeating what Greg and Jill tell me. They're really the brains behind it. Thanks, Jill. Thanks, Daphne. We'll get into it here. The way we kind of want to run this for everybody is we want to go through some key areas. So we want to talk about first is customer service and the role that plays. The second section we'll talk about is environmental design, lineups, signage, that sort of thing. And then finally, we'll close with some tips and some insight onto how we do our training and mentoring with our staff. And then we'll open it up to the floor and hopefully have a bit of a panel or Q&A open dialogue where we can tell some stories and talk about our crazy things we do in live entertainment. So COVID. First, we're going to talk about COVID because I think that is the overriding thing on everybody's mind. And one thing I want to put out first and be clear on is that we're not going to advise anybody here today on what your COVID or public health policies should be in terms of who you're going to allow into your place of business or how or what those restrictions or questions you're going to ask them are. Instead, we're going to talk about how we can help with some strategy in implementing whatever policy that is, however restrictive or non-restrictive that might be. So COVID has obviously made everything really difficult. I think it's difficult for all of us as business leaders, as employees, as customers. It's just everything is harder right now. And so we're all not navigating these uncharted waters. Customers don't know how to behave, but neither do stores. We're not used to lineups everywhere. I'm not used to lineups. I mean, I work in the entertainment business, so I don't wait in line. So it is challenging for me for sure to be waiting at the pharmacy and the post, like everywhere all the time. So we're going to talk about that. there's a total information overload, lots of conflicting information everywhere, and money is tight. And I think that where we were coming from with this is that obviously we would be happy to engage anybody here and provide professional services after this, but hopefully there's some takeaways here for businesses that you can implement on your own, and hopefully have some communication improvements at your own place, and do some of the stuff DIY, because that's the name of the game. So where do we start? I think we first need to start, the most important place is identifying what our own expectations are as a customer. I think that often, and myself included, there's a disconnect in terms of when we're trying to plan something for other people, we often don't put ourselves in those people's shoes. So what I like to do when I'm doing shows, or when I'm planning how people are going to get into a building, I pretend I don't speak the language of wherever I am, and I pretend that I've never been there before, and I just got out of the taxi, or whatever the case may be. So I think that's a really important place to start, is the very first thing you should do is put yourself in the shoes of your customer the minute they arrive at your property. Not inside your business, outside your business. When they get to the parking lot, start there. And so I'm going to turn it over to Greg, and he's going to dive into the customer service piece and share some insight into that piece. So Greg, before we do that, I thought we could share a little video here. Oh no, Daphne, I wonder if I ticked the little box. Stand by, everybody.
Okay, let's see. The video is so good.
I don't know if I did. Sorry, hang on. I need to make sure I share this properly, because we got to do the sound. I did not tick the box. So here we go. Okay. So we're just going to watch a short video here that really, I think, summarizes perfectly what we're trying to say here.
This is LA Sheriff's Deputy Elton Simmons, and I bet you don't like him already. Seeing him there, hiding in the shadows, why can't he go catch some real criminals, you may be thinking? Or no wonder he has a record number of complaints. Who wouldn't complain about a guy whose sole purpose in life is to ruin your day?
Go around the corner.
By the very nature of the business, all LA County traffic cops can expect to get at least a few complaints every year. A lot of them are petty, people just mad because they got a ticket. But regardless, they all get documented and placed in the officer's personnel file.
Which is why Captain Pat Maxwell was stunned when he started looking through Simmons' file.
I just said that's not possible.
Although he did see lots of commendations. Looking back over the last 20 years, over the last 25,000 traffic stops, Captain Maxwell couldn't find one complaint. A record. Zero.
I mean, Vegas or MIT could not give you the odds or the statistical probability of that.
Obviously, Elton is doing something right.
Yeah, it's got to be something.
Do you know what it is?
No.
No idea.
No.
Until the captain told him, Elton didn't even know he had such a record, let alone how he got it.
It's just how I do it every day.
So we trailed him for a day to see if we could figure out how he does it.
Yeah, what's going on? How you doing today, man?
First thing I noticed was that he has this pitch-perfect mix of authority
I need you to take care of that.
and diplomacy,
I don't want to keep pulling you over, though.
with none of the attitude that sometimes comes with a cop.
That's okay. That's good. Just be careful, all right? I'm here with you. I'm not up here. Because one thing I hate is to be looked down at. I can't stand it. So I'm not going to look down at you.
That's why, in lieu of a lecture, he gives most people the benefit of the doubt.
So it happens.
Of course, they still get the ticket.
It happens.
Just not the guilt trip. And drivers seem to appreciate that.
You know, it's not that bad.
So much so that by the end, some are downright smitten.
You know what it is? It's a smile.
Really?
He's got a great smile.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You're giggling now. You just got a ticket.
I just got a ticket. He's a nice guy. I mean, you know, how can you be mad at that guy?
Apparently, you can't.
Disarming.
That's it, disarming.
Time after time,
Very kind.
ticket after ticket.
Never so happy to get a ticket in my life.
We saw Elton Simmons melt away a polar ice cap of preconceptions. And his boss says there's a lesson in there for hard-nosed traffic cops everywhere.
Their excuse is, well, I give tickets all day long. I'm going to get complaints. Well, that's not true.
There's a way.
There is a way to do it. And Elton Simmons is the way.
Certainly, no complaints here. Steve Hartman, on the road in Los Angeles.
So we love that video.
Love that video.
I'm going to turn it over to Greg.
Imagine if somebody was like, never so happy to be in a lineup in my life, a COVID lineup in my life. That's what we want,
the goal.
right? And that
is the
video is
goal.
a great example too, just from like a a business, a customer service perspective, that we could be thinking about this all the time in all aspects of our business. But then now in like this super stressful situation, you know, how do we turn it around and make it like that? I think that video is so cool because you at first feel like, I hate that guy. And then by the end, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. That's what we want, right?
And we deal with that every day. I mean, you know, security guards generally, you know, or any position of authority really is not generally regarded as approachable. And that I think that's like the key part of what we're trying to do around here. So Greg can, you know, I'll pass it over to you, Greg. You can unpack that video and talk about your piece.
Awesome, thanks. Look at the picture we have right here. It's kind of the opposite of Officer Elton. It's, do you want to go ask that person directions? Do you want to ask her how much something costs? Do you want to ask anything? And then you put that in the age of COVID, where you're feeling uncertain, you don't know what sanitize, you don't know if you should wear a mask or not wear a mask, and someone shot you a dirty look because your mask you had wasn't on right. And are you going to go ask this person for help? You're not going to, because look at how approachable she is. And it's a super simple thing, but in the security world, it's talked about earlier, everyone thinks we should be unapproachable. We should enforce rules. And we take kind of the opposite approach. We're not here to enforce rules. We're here to help people and smile at them and be engaged. And then they want to follow rules at that point. It's kind of reverse psychology. If you're just really nice to people and friendly and smile, you don't actually have security things. And there's the opposite. Who would you want to ask about, is this sanitized? Or am I doing this correctly? Or excuse me, where are the washrooms? Or I don't know how much this costs. Pick which person you're going to talk to, and it's going to be pretty evident you're talking to this person here because they're smiling, they're engaged, they're going to make eye contact, they care about what you're doing, what you're going through, they care about your day. And again, all really simple stuff, but really, really important in how we act. And to put this into COVID world a little bit, go to the lineup, and you're in the lineup, what's happening? You don't know what's happening, because most lineups that I've seen, and I'm going to relate a lot of this stuff to my experiences in the last few months. I go into lineups and you don't know what's happening. You get into a line and sometimes there's footsteps on the ground, sometimes there's not, sometimes there's tape, sometimes there's maybe a stanchion, and you just kind of plod along and move along and you don't know what's happening. And to me, it's a really missed opportunity for businesses to interact with their clients in a perspective of teaching them, comforting them, making them feel welcome. The lineup is part of your business. As soon as a customer arrives in a parking lot or near you, they're your concern. And I think in COVID, that's kind of gotten missed to a degree, because they're more concerned what happens inside the store, because there's so much to be concerned about with all the safety risks and all that kind of stuff, but we're missing the lineup. So for me, how long are you going to be in line? Go talk to the people. Hey, it's going to be 5 minutes. Hey, it's going to be 10 minutes. Hey, we got the line moving. Here's our COVID policy. Here's a big sign what we're doing. Those people are stuck in line. They can't move. To me, it's like the best opportunity ever to interact with them, because they can't get away from you. No matter what they do, they are stuck and they have to talk to you because they can't go anywhere because they're surrounded by people in a lineup. So
and Greg,
it's
there's lineups like outside and inside now, right? So like we've got like we're kind of talking about, okay, look at it from like the minute the person gets out of the car, but there's lineups inside the store, and every store has a different policy. So I got scolded this weekend at a grocery store because I didn't figure out, how their lineup worked. And we're often like, I don't know how far away I'm supposed to stand from this person. Not every, so there's just so much opportunity for communication, like you guys are saying.
Yeah, and you can reinforce all the rules. Like there is signage at some of the stores I've been to. A lot of it's not spectacular, but some stores have good stuff. But you want to interact, you want to talk to people. Like half the time when I'm waiting in line, I don't read the signage. I'm on my phone, I'm doing whatever. And then I get to the front and then I get frustrated because I don't know what's happening. And part of that could be my challenge because I haven't paid attention, but I'm a customer.
We're super, I want to get in and out of that store as fast as possible in case I interact with someone, because I have elderly parents who are worried about it. So you're not paying attention to everything that you're reading. I'm like trying to get what I need and get out of there as soon as possible. So
so the customer service and communication part is, let's talk to the people. We have them in a lineup. Let's tell them how long it's going to be. Let's tell them what's going on in the store. Here's how the lineups are going to go up and down the aisle. Here's what we're going to do. And it makes your staff engaged. There's nothing worse than staff not having much to do. Our staff, when they don't have much to do, they tend to be I'm trying to think, I'm online because I was going to say a swear word, but they tend to be poor at their job at that point, right? You need them to be engaged. You need to be constantly doing things and have stuff to do, and they're better at their job. And that applies to anybody. So having someone just sit slouched over in a hoodie at the front of a line, they're not going to do a good job because it's just not. So get up, talk to the line, do stuff. Have signage to facilitate customer interactions, have big signs saying, talk to us, ask us questions, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that's how we think about lineups and what should happen. Take that chance to interact with your clients. And to have your staff interact, the first impressions are everything. We've all been there in a restaurant, we've all been to a store where we make snap judgments on stuff. This is one of our leaders, Manisha. She's an incredible supervisor and someone we worked with for years and does a really good job. But would you want to approach her right now? You know, the things I notice are her shirts are untucked. Shirt's untucked. Hands are in her pocket. Looks really unapproachable. Not smiling. She's not making eye contact. Like, I would not want to go ask that person anything. In the COVID world, people aren't going to. But if you look at the next slide, perfect. She's smiling. She's engaged. Her back is up straight. Her hands are crossed, but not the arms crossed. One of the things that we really teach all of our staff is not allowed to cross your arms. I mean, when you go like this, no one's going to come talk to you. All it says is, don't talk to me. Don't interact with me. Yet everywhere you go, you see staff standing like that. And you can't. In the COVID world, it has to be reinforced because so many people are nervous about what to do, how to do it. Am I doing the right thing? Am I going to be in trouble for going down the wrong aisle? So it all starts with your staff, making sure they are friendly and approachable and that they have the knowledge and tools to talk to people and interact with them. So we're nearing the kind of end of my part of the customer service part. We can definitely take lots of questions afterwards. I could go on for hours alone on this part. I'm so passionate about it, and it's so important. But to give some kind of hints of what I think about and what we think about as a company when we're doing stuff.
You want to, Greg, tell you? So I'm sorry to interrupt, but you told a story the other day about a shop you went to and how you asked some questions, and then what? And then everybody behind you. Can you tell that story?
Yeah. I guess I missed that. Sorry. I was at a local hardware store and we waited in a long lineup and there was nothing, just the guy in the hoodie that was at the end of the line. And there's about 10 or 12 of us in line. And halfway, I was near the 3/4 of the way through the lineup and I asked the young gentleman, are these carts sanitized? And he kind of looked at me and, yeah. So it didn't reassure me to grab the cart, but the lady right behind me was like, thanks for asking that. I didn't know what to do. And then the guy behind her was nodding his head saying thanks because nobody knew. So we all sat in line the entire time, not really knowing. I'm the only one that asked because I'm loud and I ask things. But even then, when the guy says, yeah, I'm like, yeah, like they're really sanitized, kind of sanitized. Did you wipe them with a wet nap? I'm not like, yeah, it doesn't feel good.
Know if it is, or you're just saying yes. I think anything that's like that you need to touch is kind of like an unknown. And there's even like stations where there's somebody sitting there with hand sanitizer and you don't know, like, am I supposed to hand sanitize when I come in, when I go out? Like, we just don't know. And anything that's touchy, we're like just super worried about it, right?
Yeah, take that time to talk to people and explain it to them. The one little anecdote before I go on too is when we do customer service in our supervisors, one of the things we teach them is, I made this thing up in my head kind of the customers. There's 100% of our customers and I break them into 3 areas. 80% of the clients are going to come have a good time pretty much no matter what. They don't complain or they're having a good day or everything is good. That 80%, we want to keep them happy, super important, but they're generally very easy to deal with. And then we have the last 20%, which I break into two areas. So out of that 20%, 5% of them aren't having a good day and aren't going to have a good day. They're pretty much, no matter what anyone does, they are upset for whatever reasons. They had a spousal argument, there was traffic, they didn't get Officer Elton, they got some other officer who gave them a ticket and lectured them on the way, whatever it may be on the way, right? So they're going to be really hard to impact them into a positive frame. But what we want to do is not let them get too much worse. And the middle part, there's a 15%. That's to me where customer service and security should really be focused. They're not decided if they're having a bad day or not. I mean, we can handle the 5% because there's enough staff on, we're trained enough. But if it's 20% of our clients are a problem, we're not staffed for it. Nobody is. There's not enough people or money in the world to deal with that. So how do we turn that 15% into the 80%? So that 80% becomes a 95%? Well, we talk to them. We smile when they come in. We say, hey, are you having a good day? Thank you very much. And if they look, their body language is, clenched jaw, clenched fist, all that kind of stuff. We interact with them and say, are you doing okay today? Can I help with anything? Just talk. And it's not that hard to turn that 15% into part of the 80% and make our jobs easier. And then we don't become security. We don't want to be security. We want to be customer service agents. Security means things are going bad. Our job is to make sure things don't go bad. Again, it sounds really simple, but
I love that, Greg. And you talked before about you actually look for people with clenched fists, clenched jaws, and then go smile at them. And I was like, I wouldn't, that wouldn't cross my mind.
Walk up to them.
Oh, that is such a great idea, right?
Yeah. Well, security inevitably falls into the end of the day. Shit. Like when I started with the company, one of our big things was security. At the end of the day, it'd be like, yeah, we threw out like 6 people. And I would get super pissed off. And I'm like, I don't want to hear about who we threw out. I want to hear about who did we not throw out? Who was close and who did we save? That's the victory. And that's part of the culture change we've done at the company is it's not a victory throwing somebody out. That's a failure every single time. It is going to happen once in a while and it's inevitable, but that's not the goal. The goal is to keep them in there, spend money, enjoy, speak well, all that kind of stuff, right? But so I find security gets pretty opposite, and policing is opposite too, as we've all seen the last little while. So to leave my part, so a saying I have, it's an old bar industry thing, is work the line. In a bar industry, you work the line because that's where lots of your problems happen, because that's where people are intoxicated. It's 10 o'clock at night. You can have pretty large problems. So you have security up there and you're friendly and you talk and you interact and you pick out who might be too intoxicated, take them out of the line and talk to them and, hey, come back in an hour. Hey, can I get you a water or coffee? As opposed to waiting until they get to the front of the line and they're super unhappy. Like work the line, work the line, work the line. If you work the line and it goes good, guaranteed almost everything inside goes good.
And in COVID, we can relate the intoxicated people to like the super stressed out people. Like identify who's really stressed out and make them at ease, so that when they go in, they have that different mindset. They have they're grateful and positive versus being so stressed out about the situation.
Totally. And even if the information isn't what they want to hear, at least they have the information instead of not having it. And at least they're not guessing. And that's so important.
And fear and anxiety they're pretty terrible emotions, right? And people can make them really irrational in decisions and communication. So you really want to communicate that and don't let them get to that point. Same as intoxication. I don't know which is worse in some ways. They all have their inherent challenges, but it's really tough. And the last thing I can leave everyone with is things are tough right now for everybody. It's a weird world out there, and the stores are weird, and COVID's weird, and what do we do? So I would make a not so great experience a little bit better, because right now it's tough to have a good experience everywhere. Everyone's worried and stressed, but let's all try and make it a little bit better. If you can make every experience a little bit better, it's amazing how much better everyone's days will go, how you have less problems, how you're actually going to make more money. People who are happy spend money. So make their day a little bit better and make a little bit more money. I'm going to pass it off to Jill now to continue on.
It's me.
Oh,
no,
Chris,
I'll take
sorry.
it. Thanks, Greg. Customer service is everything. It's everything. It guides everything that we do. I'm going to talk about the environment piece, and I'll try and be brief. It's not really my strength. I know that I have several colleagues on the Zoom call here today that are going to relate to the next story that I am going to tell, but sometimes it doesn't go well. So I said earlier, we have to kind of look at these things as if we've never been to this place before, we don't speak the language, and am I going to be able to navigate the physical space with the infrastructure that we as planners have put in place? So quick story time, concert story time is not too long ago, I was running a music festival in BC, and we had one of the worst lineup issues that I've had in my career. It was the first time I had a line of RCMP officers interlocked arm in arm, human shield, cutting off the surging crowd, trying to get to the box office that was overwhelmed. And the reality of what happened there is that we did all of the things that we should have done in advance. We put a site plan together, we drafted it, we measured it, we calculated the density of how many people will be able to put in that queue, where the queue goes. We did all of the things. but we didn't have a plan for what would happen if there was a communication failure at our end. And sometimes that's technology, sometimes the internet goes down and you can't scan tickets, or sometimes it's other things. In this case, it was a communication disconnect at the management level on our end in terms of how many people we were expecting to do a certain type of transaction. It was a lot more than we thought, and we weren't staffed for it. And what happened was that the lineup started getting longer, and as SkyTrain after SkyTrain dumped 500 to 700 bodies at a time into that lineup, we got completely overwhelmed and we lost the line. And so at that point, we had to figure out, okay, what are we going to do now? And we had to come up with a plan B, and the plan B is usually nowhere close to plan A, but it's way better than plan C. And so, you know, we found a way. We all hit the deck, got the crowd in, made changes, made some tough decisions, lost a bit of money, but we prioritized safety and we got them in and we adapted. And when we look back at kind of how we laid that thing out and the lessons that we learned, there's a bunch of things that we can do better and we will do better in the future. First one was, no matter what we think our contingency, if our contingency is enough, it's not enough. And we have to have more and more and more contingency and think about 5 times deeper than we thought we could have gone. When we planned out our line and what we figured a kind of a worst case scenario would be where the end of our line would be, it was double that and then another 50% beyond that, out of the controlled space into secondary highway traffic, down a residential street. It was a disaster. And so we weren't prepared at all of those points to communicate with those staff with those customers adequately. We had some signage and we had our normal signage kind of in our main queue. We had everything kind of organized up there, but once it got beyond that, we just weren't ready. And we had to deploy temporary resources out there to kind of manage that. So big takeaway for us on that one was over plan. The other thing that we focused on there was signage and communication. And we talk about signage and we talk about communication, and there are 2 components of the communication. Greg talked a lot about the human element and the talking and the working the line and how critically important that is. And when this whole thing was going down, I was one of the ones, you know, that was working that line up and going up and down, and people are unhappy. They were in line for 90 minutes plus. And in our world, that is beyond an unacceptable amount of time to wait in a line. And what we did as a festival and as a, you know, a production team is, first thing we did is we communicated to everybody out on Twitter. We're like, things are not ideal here. We apologize. We acknowledge the problem. Here are the things we're trying to do to fix it. And then when I was walking up and down the line, I was talking to everybody and people were mad. And I was like, I know, you should be mad. This sucks. This isn't going the way that it should. I appreciate your patience. We're doing our best, but you can vent. It's okay to vent to me. I can take it. We deserve it, but we're going to get you in there, hang in there, and it's great in there. And repeat 800 times as you go down the line. And it helps. It doesn't fix it, but it certainly makes it way, way less worse. And so when we look at like, how do we avoid these things in the future and how do we make sure that doesn't happen, it comes down to communication. It comes down to signage. It comes down to advance outreach. Tell people what to expect when they get there. Publish your map. Put your parking lot map on your website. Put it on Twitter. Say, hey, when you get to our place, here's how this works. Here's where you park. Don't take a card out of the parking lot thing. Go take it out of here and do that advanced kind of communication piece in whatever medium you can. And then when you get there, make sure there is tons of signage. Now, we don't invent, we've not invented how good signage. We just steal it. There's other people with lots of letters after their name that have done all the work for us. And I like traveling, and my work in touring production takes me all over the world, and I spend a ton of time in airports. I love airports. I love everything about airports, because no matter where I go, any airport for the very first time, I know how to get around. I can always find my way around in countries I've never been to, in languages I don't speak. And so that's the model. And so that's what we try and duplicate. We look at this sign here that I've got on the slide, and it's like, there is a ton of information happening on this sign. I know where gates A, B, C are. I also know where the Sky Center is, where the VIP lounge is, where the barber shop is, the gift shop, restaurants, coffee, bar, washrooms. Everything is telling me where to go in this sign, and it's doing it in such a way that I don't have to be able to read. And so I think that's a massively important thing to do. And we like to look at all the different creative ways we can communicate with signage. It's not necessarily a 8.5 by 11 or a sign in a poster stand or whatever, although those are really important. There's also stanchions, and stanchions are those seatbelt things that airports use and Disney uses to snake their lineups. You can make those with custom printing on them. Put your store logo on there. Put welcome to XA staffing. Do something with that piece. Use the shopping cart. Use the sign in the window. Use the uniform of your staff. Put stuff on the back. We put messaging on volunteer shirts all the time and all that kind of stuff. So I cannot overstate the importance of signage and sign communication and graphic communication in every interaction in the store. And it starts at the parking lot, it's dots on the ground, it's nice seatbelt stanchions. And then how does the store work? It's awesome if we're gonna put arrows down everywhere, but if we're putting two one-way aisles into the other and people don't know how to deal with that, well, then there should be a sign, or there should be a person, or there should be some sort of orientation that says, hey, it's impossible to do the one-way thing really perfectly. So please just be mindful when you get to the end of the aisle that you can go both ways on the egg section, but keep 2 meters and do your best. That quit sentence would just change the shopping experience for most people, I think, myself included. Because I like Greg, I'm the asker loud guy, and I'll be in the hardware store and I asked this girl the other day, I'm like, so is this a one-way aisle, or like, I don't want to break the rules? And she's like, I don't know. Everybody's just doing whatever. We don't even know. And I'm like, well, I appreciate your honesty. And that's literally the case everywhere we go. So signage, Chris, and yeah.
And to tie that in, the signage is a great partner for your staff. The staff need help and support, and having big, bold, bright signage that explains things they can point to, or they can reiterate what they're saying. Because lots of times people don't believe your 17 or 19-year-old staff. They want to also see it in writing or in words right there. So it's kind of in tandem where you can make the most impact. And the staff sometimes need the help. They get tired, they get exhausted from asking the same question. Sometimes go, well, sorry, sir, here, I'm going to go on to here, just read this here. It gives them that backup, which I think everybody needs.
Yeah, and you can print those like roll-up banners. There's so many different options now to get quick information in different places. That's really important. And I think one of the things that you didn't touch on, because it is a more complicated topic, but it's the pre-planning. So had you not had like your contingency plan for that one big event, I mean, it went crazy, but you already had some plans in place. And I think we all need to remember that we are coming out of a global crisis. So it's not kind of business as usual. We're not going back and be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. You actually have to even engage your whole team. What ideas do you guys have? Because you've been out in the world, and getting the whole team to get different perspectives on what are we missing here, what can we do, and that whole like post-mortem, like how's this going to go if it goes wrong, what should we do next? And of course that's like a whole other workshop, but it's
it's a super, super good point, right? It's the planning piece, and we have lots of experience with planning, getting people and lots of people into spaces, but even after 20 years, we still don't get it right. And so I think it's important to recognize that we're not always going to get it right. And we rely on the people on the ground to give us the feedback. And we want to have a mechanism in place to be able to accept that feedback. And we want to act on it. It's important. And I think to like kind of the golden crisis communication rules of acknowledge the mistake, apologize for it, own it, commit to finding a solution, give them a timeline, and then follow up on the timeline. It's pretty simple. And so, if it's a crisis communication, if it's a bad lineup, if it's just a normal thing, just communicate it. Just can't be overstated.
Everything is so new. We just have to accept that we're going to make mistakes, and we have to just keep changing, keep going.
And we keep adapting. And so I think that's the most important part of what we do as planners is we do the best that we can to plan, predict what's going to happen. But most importantly is that we plan to adapt, and we plan for our plans to fail. And we know that they're not always going to go perfect. And we know sometimes we're going to get overwhelmed at the lineup. And we know that we're going to have to call on plan B, plan D, plan C, or new plan that we make up right then to solve the problem. And the most important thing that I think I want to drive home on this piece is that we can help with design, but most people can do it themselves. You think about the airports, think about amusement parks, think about pretend you're that your new customer, just do those basic things will really drive the plan. And take a piece of paper, take a pen, draw your parking lot and plot it out. And anybody can do that and try it and walk it and live it and role play it. But most importantly is just plan for it not to go well, and plan to be okay with that and to own it and to communicate with the staff, and then just commit to changing it and making it a little bit better. When we look at like our relationship with regulators and people like, you know, liquor inspectors or occupational health and safety people or whatever, they want to see continual incremental improvement over each visit. Nobody has an expectation of perfection. And I think that, you know, that's one thing as a business, we have really changed perfection, but we promise really good communication. And we promise that when we do not hit the mark, that we're going to own it and we're going to communicate with you and we're going to get better at it. And I think that's what customers and regulators and really everybody, that's really all anybody expects. So plan to fail and be okay with failing and just be okay with owning it. So that kind of concludes my piece. I, like Greg, could talk about environmental design for hours and hours and hours, and be happy to later or offline. So I'm going to turn it over to Jill. She's going to get into the kind of training, coaching, and our culture piece. So
Jill, just before you go, I know we mentioned that we would kind of wrap up at 12:45. So if anybody wants to leave, we have a recording. We're going to have the recording. This is such a great conversation. Loving the content. So just so everybody knows that we'll share that on XA Staffing's LinkedIn, Twitter, all the social media, you'll be able to see it, and on Project Lemons to Lemonade.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Cool. And I'm a fast talker, so hopefully this won't take too much longer. So yeah, I'm going to talk to you guys about training, coaching, and culture, and sort of how we do it here at XA and why we've been successful in this industry. So I want to start off with talking about what we call our 4-corner security methodology. And this is really the 4 pillars to what is our model for training and hiring and staffing and everything that we do here. So the first one, education. We really believe that there's no end to the learning. So whether that's a formal course you're taking or sitting in and listening to a webinar like we are now, or maybe it's the informal learning that happens on site with your colleagues and the clients and your supervisors, we're always trying to push that learning no matter where it's coming from and what avenue it's in. So we're always looking for different things that we can teach our staff in, things like COVID, it's a big topic right now, but also things like, you know, respect in the workplace and how to manage a proper lineup, and occupational health and safety things, and customer service, communication, all sorts of things. So we've developed a pretty extensive training program that encompasses all sorts of different aspects. And then safety is one of these things that's ingrained in everything that we teach. So we really believe in the occupational health and safety aspects of protecting our staff, but we also believe in protecting the staff of the other people that are on site and the patrons on site and really anybody that could potentially walk onto or near that site. So we want to work with our clients to make sure that our safety protocols match your safety protocols and are really a part of what we're doing down there, and that everybody lives and breathes that safety aspect. Customer service, I'm not going to get into this one too much. I think Greg's spoken quite a bit about it, but that really is fundamental to our success here, is our belief in customer service, and that we're not just your average security company. We like to say, you know, we're not the big thugs, we're the moms and the pops and the university students and the people that know how to have a conversation, and that's our brand. And then communication, I'll talk about this a little bit more here in a couple slides, but we're honest, we own our mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, but what we like to do is learn from them. So we review them, we talk about them as a team, we see how we can avoid them in the future, how we can do better next time. And that's a big part of our supervisor team and why they've been so successful and driven our success. So we, to bring it down to our hiring level, we're really just looking for people that are willing to have a conversation with people. So if they can enter into an interview with us, it's not a very formal setting, and have a conversation with us and talk to us about their backgrounds and their skill sets and why they want to work for us and what's drawing them towards this industry and customer service as a whole. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for the people that have, 15 years as a security guard and have been doing this forever and want to be a police officer and that's their passion. And those people are great. But if they have the wrong attitude or unwilling to be that first person to approach somebody in a lineup and say, hey guys, it's only going to be another 10 minutes. We appreciate your patience. Thanks for sticking it out with us. They're not going to be the right fit for our company. Last year, we hired about 400 casual staff within a 3-month period. So that's what got us up to our numbers that Chris was talking about at the beginning of 800 active staff for our busy season last year. And really, our interview process is not complicated, but you do have to be able to have that conversation and be willing to do it. We also teach our staff about empowering their judgment. So we're going to back up our staff on their decisions that they make because of the training that we've given them. We trust their decisions. And this is where our frontline supervisors really come in and play a part. They get a lot more enhanced training. They're trained at a higher level. We're always looking for new things to teach them because they deserve it. They're great members of our team. They've really proven their attitudes and the reason that they're here. But the number one thing that they all have, all coming from completely diverse backgrounds, is that they're incredible communicators. That's their number one skill set. It's in they each have their own sort of way of doing it, but they can communicate like nobody else. And that's what's successful to them. They have to communicate constantly to clients, to people that they're training in formal training classes. Most of our supervisors are actually teaching these training courses with us. On site to our staff, to the patrons. Everything that they do comes down to communication, and it ties in what Greg was saying about body language and why that's important. Everybody's watching our supervisors. So we like to focus on teaching them the real world skills, the things that people are going to see right away, pick up on right away, but also things that are applicable in the rest of their life, outside of their work with us. Because we think that if we're teaching them skills that are important to us, but are also important in their personal lives and their other jobs, they're going to be practicing these skills. They're going to be using them more often. They're going to be honing their skills. And that sort of trickles down to us and allows them not only the opportunity to grow their skill sets and strengthen their skill sets, but also lets us get to know them and figure out what their strengths are and where they fit in within our team. Because we really do care about our supervisors. I mean, we care about all of our staff, but our supervisors are a whole different level with us. You know, most of them are from very diverse backgrounds. Very few of them are coming from any sort of security industry or, you know, pursuing policing. We have people that are full-time mechanics. We have teachers. We have people that are part-time casual with us and are a parent. And that's what they do for a living because they enjoy it and they like to learn those new skills. Kind of just flip the slide there, Chris. And then just to kind of relate it back to COVID-19, we've done our due diligence and our work and put in the effort to coming up with our own COVID-19 policies. And we think they're pretty solid, but we also understand that not all of the things that we're teaching our staff about COVID are going to apply to your situation and our clients' situations. Everybody has their own concerns to address. Everybody has their own things to manage and different ways of doing things and different resources. So we want to make sure that we're working with our clients to make sure that everybody's protected in terms of COVID-19 and not just our own staff because of our own internal policies. So we've got our policy. We're happy to reference it for you guys and for our clients, but really we're looking to have those conversations and say, what's important to you guys? You know, if we have staff member working at the front door, can we be the ones helping sanitize regularly? Can we be the ones helping restock the resources because this high traffic area is constantly out of the wipes that you need? You know, how can we play a part in your team so that we're not
capacity? Since when do grocery stores have capacities?
For sure, yeah. I mean, managing a capacity at the live events that we're used to is a whole different level than managing a 50 person clicker count. And we're happy to do that kind of thing and do it with a smile on our face and be that first person that people see when they walk in the door. And it's funny because we used to talk about how we're the security company that says, have a good night, smiles and high fives you on your way out at the end of the show. And we can't really high five people anymore, but we'd still love to be that company that's giving the air high fives and the thumbs up and greeting people on their way out and just checking in with them. You know, if they did have a negative experience as they were at your venue or wherever you're at, then at least we want to start that conversation, right? So if we're greeting them and saying, hey guys, have a great day. Thanks for coming in today. And they're like, oh, you know, that was actually a really crappy experience. This happened, blah, 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 blah. Then let's start those conversations and see if we can get to the bottom of what happened right away, as opposed to them sitting on it and stewing on it. And I mean, we live in a world full of media these days, and social media can be your best friend or your worst enemy. And the last thing anybody needs is a negative post because something could have been resolved right at the door with that last person at the door, which is usually us. So we're happy to do that.
It's that 85, that conversion piece Greg was talking about. It's like, can we turn that 1-star Google review heading to their car into a 5-star? And it's totally possible. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks, Jill. That about wraps it up for the more formal, supposed to be 20-minute part of the talk. We had a lot of fun. It was great. If anybody wants to chat more or pick this up offline, we're happy to stay in touch. Our email address and phone number and website's there. It's been really great. And we'd like to open it up to the floor if there's anybody that wants to stick around.
Yeah, so we do have a thank you so much for doing this awesome workshop. It was really fun. I didn't know what to expect, and I've learned so much. So that's really cool. So I can't wait to share it with more of my clients and colleagues. We do have one question that is, you talk about conversations in the lineups and are people worried about, the security or, having these conversations? Like, how does that work when nobody wants to be around each other? What do you guys recommend, or what should happen in these lineups?
I'll
go ahead.
Yeah. I'm going to pass it to you, but I thought I just wanted to relate to the beginning of all of this back in March, where initially it was called the social distancing. Some people still call it that, but then quickly it turned to physical distancing because we didn't want to confuse actually distancing social interactions. And I think that is really applicable to this question. Obviously, we don't want to be going down the line and having this conversation with people, but we can still communicate with people from 5-10 meters away. In fact, you can communicate with more people that way. So I think that what's critically important as customer service people is that we don't allow these conditions of the pandemic to change how we treat people. We shouldn't stop having the conversations because we're worried about transmission. We should figure out how we can still have those conversations and not transmit the thing, not eliminate we want to eliminate the transmission, not the conversation. So Greg, you had something to add to that.
I still think it's a great opportunity interacting the lines. I know there can be concerns with the COVID and how you do it, but you can be back 2 meters. You can address people at once. I could talk to 10 people at once. Hey, how's everyone doing here today? Here's our COVID policy. And at the end, I think a really unique thing to do is say, does anybody have any questions? Anybody worried about anything? Nobody asks the questions of your customers. Ask them. And then people will ask questions, but everyone's afraid to ask a question. No one wants to be the guy in the back of the class who's afraid to raise his hand is going to get ridiculed. If you say, hey, do you have any questions? And look at their body language. You can tell someone who's and you can say, do you have a question? And you can be 2 meters away. You can be 10 feet away, address a group. Groups are easier to talk to than person on person anyways in a lot of ways. So to me, yes, there is some COVID concerns about you don't want to be standing in someone's face. You want to be distanced for sure, but it's still more opportunity to talk, it still has to be talking all the time, constantly, and we need to make sure we're doing those touch points.
Yeah.
And inject levity, be happy, make a joke, acknowledge that it's not fun. Be like, I hate lines too. Imagine trying to be the one in charge of lines. I hate it.
I can give you a couple examples of us communicating without the traditional form of communicating. And I mean, we love megaphones. We love being happy and friendly on megaphones in the situation that dictates them. So if you got a huge lineup, people don't really understand what's going on, our staff would love to get on a megaphone and crack those jokes and tell you, hey guys, it's only going to be another 5 minutes. We know it sucks. We're with you here, that kind of thing. There's lots of different things you can do to get creative and communicate without actually being a foot away from somebody having a conversation. I mean, we've worked front doors at these huge music festivals that have 50,000 patrons coming in, and we've created systems where our security guards have a blue card if they need police help, and they have a yellow card if they need medical help. That's communicating without ever saying a word. So there's lots of different things you can do to get creative with that.
Yeah, and we have some local business examples. So WestJet has a great, the old style WestJet where they would sing to you while you're waiting. It's you're annoyed waiting. The other one is Joey's Restaurants. When you're waiting for your table, they bring out hors d'oeuvres, some drinks. So, what can you brainstorm? What can you think about in your business that you can make it it's actually a great experience, turning something annoying into a great experience, right?
You could hire a piano player to sit outside there and play 2 songs and explain to the crowd what's going on. I think there's somebody in this Zoom here would be great at doing that, is the COVID piano player or something like that.
You're helping local artists. Right?
Absolutely. Just make it fun. It's no fun to sit there and not look forward to going to work. So we like talking to people. We like having fun with it. Yeah. People are people.
Yeah.
So
and we talked about, you could give out samples, and we were like, how do you do that? Well, you could put them in a Ziploc bag. You could use tongs, just how they're giving out math in Ziploc bags. Well, yeah, use your tongs to give out samples or whatever it is.
Samples of hand sanitizer.
Yeah. Samples and hand sanitizer. Yeah. A little towelette.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, you guys. We are lining up another panel with people who are talking about how to get your employees happy and, you know, everybody's stressed going into the workplace. We have 3 different experts coming in, so that's going to be coming in the next month. And we just keep trying to find, you know, great ways to support our businesses and entrepreneurial community on Project Lemons to Lemonade. So thank you, XA Staffing, for joining us. It's amazing. Great.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, anybody has questions, reach out to us. There's our information. Blast us an email, give us a call. Happy to help out with anything, anytime.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Take care.
Take care.